Narcissists, I mean, like they have like this kind of like love-hate relationship with you. I don't know. But sometimes they really just seem to hate you. I mean, I don't know. I kind of had that feeling when I was dealing with some of them in my personal life. It's like they kind of want you around, but then sometimes it's like you just get this feeling like they kind of have this underlying rage and hate against you, and you just can't figure it out, right? At one time they like were dying to have you in their lives. Why is it there? Why do they just seem to hate you? Well, one of the reasons is that they're just seethingly jealous of you. I mean, they're just so jealous. They can't stand it, that green-eyed monster. It blinds them that they're so jealous of you. So that's one of the reasons. I mean, I remember with one of the narcissists that I had to deal with, I mean, if anything good would happen to me, it'd be like, oh, so good for you. I mean, they could barely get the words out to be like happy for the other person. I mean, it was just like, oh, happy for you. They're just so jealous of your success. So that's one of the reasons that they can absolutely hate you. Number two is they are extremely jealous when people like you better than they like them. They're okay if people like you, they just don't want them to like you better than they like them, especially if you're like a couple or maybe a business partner situation or something like that. It's like they can like you, but if it gets to a point where they seem to like you better than them, then it's not okay, because, you know, they get nervous because remember, they're very insecure and they don't have any sense of self. So they get nervous that they're going to be, you know, locked out of the situation, that they're going to be not part of it anymore or something like that. So they get very jealous when people like you better than them. So that's number two. Number three is they just don't like when you get attention or anyone is getting attention other than themselves. It can be not even you. It's like if anyone is getting attention other than themselves, like if they see that somebody else is getting some kind of accolade or award, or, you know, somebody at work is being awarded something or being noticed for something good that they did, you know, how come they're being noticed? Why are they being rewarded or getting some kind of, any kind of attention for being good at something or whatever? They don't like to see that at all. I mean, or even if somebody is succeeding, you know, somebody got into law school, somebody did well, somebody is excelling at something, they're doing amazing things. They don't like to see that. Very jealous of other people doing well. They don't like it when other people are successful or when people are getting attention in any way other than themselves, which is why, by the way, they don't necessarily like holidays. They don't like birthdays, you know, because they don't like when other people are getting attention other than themselves. And I did a whole video on this, by the way, called Why Narcissists Ruin Holidays, which you could definitely check out. But that's why they're horrible during holidays. And that's why. And number four is they just don't like when you're not paying attention to them. So if anything is going on where you're not paying attention to them, they start to get gloomy and babyish and they start acting up, you know. So that's number four. They hate when you're not paying attention to them. Number five is they hate it when you start to feel confident in yourself and they don't like when you start to feel confident in yourself, or, you know, more confident than you used to feel or something like that. I mean, when you start to feel better about yourself than you might have in the past, they start to feel jealous of that, or they start to feel threatened by that in some way sometimes. So that's the next one. They also hate it sometimes when you have a life that they want or feelings that they want. Like if a person has like the confidence that they want to have, or a life that they want to have, they'll hate you for that as well. I mean, they feel very, very jealous of people who have anything that they want. So life that they want to have, or the feelings that they want to have, or the confidence that they want to have, they get threatened or jealous by that for sure. You know, they're just super jealous or threatened in general of pretty much anything. And if you agree with me, give me a totally in the comments. All right. So number 7 is they hate when you betray them, which could be pretty much anything at all. I mean, even if you aren't even like betraying them. I mean, they can just kind of decide that you betrayed them because you had a conversation with somebody at a party, or you said pass the salt at a dinner party and to a random person or whatever. I mean, they can just kind of decide that anything is a betrayal. But, you know, with narcissists, they see things in very black and white. And for sure, I mean, they see you as either for them or against them. If you are against them, you are definitely public enemy number 1. So you have to either be for them or against them. And if anything could potentially be a betrayal, and they really hate it if you betray them. So that's number 7. And number 8 may surprise you. Number 8 is they hate you for loving them because they hate themselves. And so in some weird subconscious way, they kind of hate you because you love them. And this is especially if you're in a romantic situation with them, they almost kind of disrespect you or hate you if you love them. I'm going to give you 6 reasons that the narcissist does actually hate you, but by the end of this video, it will answer all your questions as to why. All right, so number 1, the narcissist will often put you down in public or private. They do this all the time. And it makes them feel better. That makes them feel superior to you. They have no internal sense of value. So they're always looking for ways to externally try to feed this black hole that they have inside of them. So, you know, they have this emptiness that's inside of them all of the time. You know, they feel this constant sense of emptiness. It's like they're starving or gasping for breath. They're in survival mode all of the time. They can't see you. They can't feel anything about you. They've got this black hole. They want you to fill it, and you might want to fill it too, but they can't really receive. And so, you know, they're still starving, you're left feeling depleted. And so the way they're constantly trying to make themselves feel better is through this false sense of superiority. So they're constantly trying to put you down. So they're going to put you down in public or private. Now, if they are a covert narcissist, and if you want to know more about covert narcissists, definitely check out my video on covert narcissism in relationships, because that will explain so much more about how they interact in relationships. But if they're a covert narcissist, they're going to be much more likely to just sort of be more under the radar about it. It's much more like death by 1,000 cuts. You won't feel it as much. I mean, you'll feel it but other people will think that they're so much nicer. Everybody else will be like, oh, I'm sure it's, very inadvertent or whatever, but they will make sure that All right. So that's number one. Number two is that they're definitely going to use your weaknesses against you. This is a thing that only people who hate you will do. I mean, people who love you do not use your weaknesses against you. And so this is definitely proof positive that the narcissist hates you. People who actually do love you would never use your weaknesses against you. And this is something that, when somebody, you've exposed yourself to this person who you're supposed to be able to love, you're supposed to be able to trust, you're supposed to be able to feel safe with, suddenly is using your weaknesses against you. And it is the ultimate betrayal. You now know that this person has really turned the tables on you because you see them using your weaknesses against you. And that is such proof that the narcissist actually hates you. So that's number two. Number three is that they absolutely refuse to acknowledge your accomplishments. And I can tell you this from firsthand. I was in a business relationship with a narcissist, a covert narcissist. And fortunately, it didn't last very long. But, anytime something good would happen to me, mine was a covert narcissist. I would see this person would be like, oh, well, that's just really great for you. And it was killing this other person if something good would happen to me. And, you could just tell that they were not happy for me. They're extremely jealous of other people's accomplishments. They do not like to see other people doing well because it makes them feel small. They don't want other people to do well. And so they cannot be happy when other people do well. And you see that often. And when you're out with other couples and you see the husband putting the wife down, her little endeavor, her little business, or you see the wife putting the husband down, oh, he thinks he's big stuff or whatever, when they're jealous of each other, that's definitely not a good sign. And so when you are with a spouse who refuses to acknowledge your accomplishments, that is proof that narcissist hates you, right? So that's number three. Number four is when they regularly ignore your needs. Definitely you see this when you're sick. Narcissists absolutely hate it when you're sick. They think you're faking all the time. But if they're sick, oh my gosh, you better be right there for them and baby them and taking care of every single moment of their needs. But if you are sick, they cannot take it. Am I right? If I'm right, give me a totally in the comments right now. You know that I'm right. And by the way, check out my video on this is what emotional abuse looks like, because this is all part of emotional abuse too, by the way. Okay, the next one, as far as proof that the narcissist hates you, is you just always feel like you're doing something wrong. They constantly are making you feel like you're doing something wrong. Oh, you didn't do this right. You didn't do that right. Well, sort of. Well, you messed that part up. They can't ever acknowledge that you did a good job, but they will always tell you when you messed up. It's sort of the same thing as not acknowledging the good things that you did or your accomplishments. They will also always tell you when you messed up. You screwed up the bills, you don't make enough money, constantly telling you that you're doing something wrong. You don't do a good job cleaning the house, you're a terrible driver, it's just constantly putting you down about everything. And you just are always on edge because you just feel like you're always doing something wrong. You're not a good parent, whatever. I mean, and so you just feel like you're always doing something wrong. So that's another piece of proof that the narcissist hates you. And number 6, that the piece of proof that the narcissist hates you is that the narcissist will often give you the silent treatment. It's like this punishment for you. You're trying to talk to them, they refuse to talk to you, either in person, or they will go silent on when you're trying to text them, you're trying to email them. They want to talk to you, they blow up your phone, they blow up your email, they show up at your house, they show up at your office, they insist. But then if you want to talk to them, they go dark, they go silent, they refuse, they punish you. It's just such proof that they hate you. And it's just to punish you. It's to manipulate you. It's to make you go crazy. It's this method to control you. It's this method to make you feel like you're going nuts. So here's the answer. Do they actually hate you? The answer is yes, they do. Now, why? Why do they hate you? I'm sure all of you can answer this with me. Is because they hate everybody. And why do they hate everybody? Because they hate themselves. They deep down, they hate themselves. And I've said this many times before. The way people treat other people is a direct reflection of the way they feel about themselves. Many people have heard me talk about the book, The 4 Agreements, and you cannot take things personally because the way people treat other people is a direct reflection of the way they feel about themselves. Yeah, they hate you. Yeah, they hate everybody because they hate themselves more than they hate you. Let's dive in. All right. So first of all, I think it's important to understand a little bit about that narcissist brain and what's actually really happening here. It stems from that whole Greek mythology of, self-love and admiration. But really what's happening is they deep down have shame, deep feeling of emptiness. And more so than any of us, we all have insecurities. We all have, our share of that, but they more so than any of us. And that's what they're hiding. People think they feel so good about themselves. It's actually the opposite. They're steeped in this feeling of no value whatsoever. And they have this deep black hole inside of them that they're constantly trying to fill with outside sources, whether it's the feeling of value through trappings like, big houses, money, prestigious friends, or things like that, or whether it's pushing other people down to make themselves feel good, manipulating people. So it's this constant fragile, thing that they have going on, this like window dressing to try to make it look like something is happening when deep down it's like this hidden little fragile, tiny, feeling of fear underneath it all, and insecurities. And so all this grandiosity and all this stuff that's going on is to actually cover up what's going on underneath this fragile self-esteem that's meticulously shielded by this external thing. For some people, it's robust looking, confident behavior. And for a covert narcissist, it may not be so much, but there's this definitely a contradictory world going on between what's happening on the outside and what's happening on the inside. That's for sure. Very much this veneer of what's happening out here versus what's happening underneath. Even with coverts, Even covert narcissists have a veneer of I'm nice and I'm good and I'm a nice person, you know, but just underneath the surface is this rage and insecurity that's happening there. It's always teetering on the brink with them. This tightrope of self-worth that's happening. So the secret hatred that's happening underneath, it's really hatred for themselves, this resentment that it's rooted in this toxic mix of they admire you and they want to be like you, but they also are competing against you at the same time. So they love you, but they also hate you. They want you to love them and they love you, but they also hate you because you are also a direct threat to their self-worth at the same time. So they want you, but then you also are inadvertently a catalyst to being a threat to their self-worth. So it's this crazy mix of toxic stew for them as well. So, it becomes passive aggressive, especially if they are a covert narcissist. And so they have these like subtle little sabotages if they are a covert narcissist in this underhanded attempt to constantly reassert their sense of superiority over you. And it's just awful. They have this constant lens of competition and comparison from the smallest little thing, like who has better clothes, who can eat better food, who has the better credit card or the better this or the whatever, any little opportunity they have to kind of just put you down in some little way, they look for it. So because your successes or any attribute that they admire translates into a personal affront to them, even though they admire it and they want that, and especially if it makes them look good, they want that. But then it becomes a personal affront and it also becomes a threat. Then it becomes like they have to put you down, they have to control you, they have to manipulate you. They need these tools to start to stabilize their internal chaotic emotional state. And then dealing with that can be mentally and emotionally taxing for whoever is dealing with that narcissist. And so drawing firm boundaries is going to be absolutely essential for you. And, absolutely knowing, hey, that's gaslighting. That's not okay. I would say step 1, don't run. Step 2, make a U-turn. Step 3, break free. So step 1 is drawing that first boundary and saying, hey, I am not going to allow myself to be treated in this way. And the very first boundary for me is going to be, you're going to speak to me in a way that I, will be spoken to in a way that is respectful. And if that's your very first boundary, that's a really good boundary, so we're just starting to see them in as a third party, as a person who's having a tantrum on the floor and just starting to say, I can see that you're upset. I can see that you are angry. We can continue this conversation when you are less angry. This approach is not working for me. We can talk when you want to be respectful to me, and having those phrases to use. That's a really good first baby step, because you are reconditioning them back. You've been conditioned and now you have to condition them back. It's going to be paramount for your mental and emotional well-being. course correcting, what I call course correcting, because you've been retreating and now you have to say, okay, I'm not going to retreat anymore. I'm going to stop and I'm going to turn around and, I'm going to go face you now and I'm going to now break free. Fed up with narcissists walking all over you? Sick of everyone believing their lies while you're paying through the nose in attorney's fees? What if you could hold all the cards for a change? Hey, I'm Rebecca Zung. I'm a top 1% trial attorney, a USA Today bestselling author, and I've spent my entire career helping people slay narcissists in negotiations, most recently through my proven slay method. What if your suffering could become your superpower? Imagine turning all that pain into power, not just for you, but for others too. This is your chance to take back control. You can finally win. Become a high conflict negotiation certified coach. Help others while transforming your own life and do good for the world. This is your chance. Go to RebeccaZung.com/apply and I'll show you how to turn the tables for good starting today. So let's talk about what that narcissist hates. I mean, there's a lot that we can't stand about them, right? I mean, their behavior toward people is just so heinous and awful. It's really hard to believe that they can do a lot of the things that they do. I mean, you find yourself wondering, how do they even sleep at night? And if you want to know how they sleep at night, check out my video on how does a narcissist sleep at night, and you'll find out more about that. When you're dealing with a narcissist, you want to know what they can't stand. So let's talk about what's going on with a narcissist so that you can understand what it is that they hate. So narcissists were traumatized at some point in their childhoods, and yes, they became wounded, but no, you can't save them. Please don't try. They cannot be rehabilitated, and nothing you can do, say, be, or whatever will ever fix them. They're beyond repair. Yes, it's sad. Yes, that child was wounded. That child is gone. They are now adults. They are now adults who should be taking responsibility for their behavior. They don't. They are pathological liars. And if you want to know more about how a narcissist behaves when they get caught in a lie, check out my video on what happens when you catch a narcissist in a lie. They just can't deal with the real world the same way we do. They don't see the world the way we do. The problem that we have as either empathic people or even just normal, reasonable people is that we constantly are trying to think about the why of what they're doing and why are they behaving that way, or what can we do to get them to change or behave differently. And the thing that is was the biggest aha moment for me is understanding that there's nothing that you can do that you're ever going to understand the behavior. There's nothing that you can learn other than learning from videos like this that will just tell you that they're really actually one of the easiest personalities to understand. They're very simple. The only thing that they care about and the only thing that drives them is something called narcissistic supply. And in my Narcissism 101 series, I actually talk about all the basic terminology of narcissism, and I do have a video specifically on narcissistic supply, so you're going to want to check that out. But they're just constantly needing that narcissistic supply. Everything they do is wrapped up in that. And narcissistic supply is anything that feeds a narcissist's ego. So it can be normal things that feed everybody's ego, like, you know, somebody telling them that they look good, or that they're really smart, or that they did a great job on something. I mean, obviously, all people want to feel seen, heard, and know that we matter. So it's kind of like on a continuum, you know, where all humans feel that way, but most humans also have the capacity to
be humble, take responsibility for themselves and their mistakes, have compassion and feeling of empathy and love and care for other people. They don't have that ability. So they are just all the way to the pathological end of the spectrum, where clinically they just cannot have any feelings of care, love, compassion, or empathy for other people. So what they hate is going to be all wrapped up in their what's interrupting their supply source. So the number one thing that they hate is boundaries. They hate boundaries because they feel entitled. They feel that you belong to them. Anything that you have belongs to them, that you should never put up boundaries against them. And so they absolutely hate when you do that, but it is absolutely necessary that you are doing that. So if you are doing that, and if you're ready to do that, or you want to do that, give me a boundaries in the comments right now. I want to hear about your boundaries. I want to hear about how you're doing it. I want to hear about how you're going to do it. If you're having trouble putting up boundaries, I want to hear about that in the comments as well. But anyway, that's the number one thing that they hate. In no particular order, by the way. I'm just kind of going through some of these things, but one of the things that they hate is boundaries. The second thing that they hate is not being in control. They spend an inordinate amount of their time trying to be in control. A lot of the things that they do, including even saying I love you, is to try to get control over you. And if you want to know more about what a narcissist really means when they say I love you, check out my video on what does a narcissist mean when they say I love you. But they really want to be in control at all times. And when they start to lose control, that's when you start to see them, when you start to see them losing their grip, they can start acting very crazily, that narcissistic rage can come flying out, that narcissistic injury gets triggered. And that's when you see, the Mr. Hyde's side of the Dr. Jekyll personality come flying out, and it's usually not pretty. And I teach negotiation skills, and I teach specifically on how to negotiate with a narcissist and how to create strategy and leverage around dealing with that narcissist. And one of the ways that you are creating that leverage is looking at their forms of supply and how you can interrupt those forms of supply. And so when they start to lose control, I teach people to just be ready for them to start going a little bit nutso, because they're always the worst, by the way, right before they're ready to give up. And the not so secret is that you're actually the stronger one. You're actually the one who is more normal and who's in control and who is stronger. And they know that, by the way. They just don't want you to know that. So number two is they absolutely hate to lose control. Number three is being exposed. They don't want people to see who they really are. They don't want people to know that maybe they're not as smart as they think they are. Maybe they don't want to get caught in lies. They don't want people to see that they've made mistakes. I actually had a narcissistic employee one time who every time, she wasn't showing up for work or she wasn't doing her work that she was supposed to, it was always someone else's fault and some other reason. She could never take responsibility, and because narcissists hate to be exposed. They do not want that to happen. So that's number three. Number four is imperfections, or you pointing out any imperfections on them. They want the world to believe that they are absolutely perfect in every way. So, looks, smarts, their work product, how they are at home, how they are as a husband, wife, mother, father, sister, brother, friend, whatever. They have to be perfect in every single way. And if you just, even the slightest slight will cause them to go crazy. And by the way, narcissists here, slights, and tones in your voice, like dogs hear whistles. They just go crazy, even if there's nothing there. Even if you didn't mean anything, there they are getting upset, so they don't want you to point out any imperfections on their part. And the last thing that they hate, I kind of alluded to a little bit earlier, but that is themselves. They have a deep, deep sense of self-hatred. Sometimes it's so subconscious that even they don't realize that it's there. Or maybe they do, but they just don't want the world to see it. And they certainly don't want you to see it. They don't want anybody to see it. But deep down inside, they really do hate themselves and know you can't fix it and know they can't get better. And yes, it happened in childhood. And yes, they were wounded as children, but you can't fix it now. They are all grown up and they can't get better. Unfortunately, the best thing you can do is start to, as we said in number 1, create those boundaries and go no contact.
Did you know that they're now saying that it's up to 15% of the population are narcissistic? And if each one of those people emotionally abuses just 3 people in their lifetimes, that ends up to being 158 million Americans, or 3.4 billion people on the planet. That's nearly half of everybody. And that's probably a low number, right? So they're driving the rest of us crazy. So what actually drives narcissists crazy? And by the way, if you haven't subscribed to this channel and you want to do that now, I suggest you do that. Subscribe, hit that notification bell. I do upload brand new videos every single day. And by the way, if you want a freebie, 15 free key phrases to disarm narcissists, something that I've personally drafted to help my own clients be able to respond to those crazy text messages, those crazy emails. You want to be able to craft something to be able to communicate with narcissists in a powerful way. Go to disarmthenarc.com, disarmthenarc.com. It's totally free. Grab that for you. Okay, 4 issues that drive narcissists crazy. Number 1 is being ignored. They hate being ignored more than anything. Okay. So, and by the way, I'm working my way up to number 1. And the number 1 thing, when I get to it, is going to be your best leverage when you are negotiating with them. So you want to stay and watch till the number 1 thing that drives a narcissist crazy. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is being ignored. They hate being ignored, of course, because, they thrive on attention. That's their supply. That's their food. That's their oxygen, right? They need that constant validation from others. When they're being ignored, it feels like a personal attack on them. And so they can get angry. They can become withdrawn. By the way, they'll ignore you, right? They do this ghosting, this hot and cold thing. They do this to try to control you. They do this early on, right after the love bombing. But if you do this back to them, then they start flooding you. They start going crazy. They start showing up. They start, absolutely going bananas on you, right? They may even start showing up wherever you are, right? So they really, really hate being ignored, for sure. The next thing that they really, really hate is being criticized. Even if you're not criticizing them at all, like you just say, oh, are those new shorts or something like that. I mean, it's not even like a criticism. You're just asking a question. They see something sometimes as a slight, even if it's just a certain tone that you use sometimes, like you don't even have a tone. They hear tone. I always say narcissists hear tones like dogs hear whistles. Anything that they see as a perceived slight, they will absolutely go crazy. So they have to be seen as perfect. They have to be seen, especially to certain people, as perfect. And if they feel like they're being criticized in any way, then
they will go crazy, right? So they become defensive, they become aggressive, and they don't want to be attacked in any way. All right. So that's number 2. The third thing is being rejected. Don't want to be rejected. Now, nobody wants to be rejected. That doesn't feel good to anybody. I mean, it feels horrible to be rejected, especially by people that you love or people that you think highly of or people that you want to be accepted by. That feels terrible to all of us, right? But for narcissists, it's horrible. I mean, for narcissists, they always see things in black or white. It's always you're all good or you're all bad. And they never can see the good things if they're only in the bad state, right? And so if you are against them, if you're not for them, then you become public enemy number 1, and they have to take you down. They have to seek revenge. They have to make you look bad before you can make them look bad, because they're afraid that you have information about them. They're afraid that you might expose them. They become obsessed with all of that, right? And it's a huge trigger for them. And so, you have to stay away from all of that. And so I'm going to have you put in the comments right now, stay away, stay away. Just put stay away in the comments right now, stay away. All right. So I'm making my way to the 4th and last thing that really drives a narcissist crazy. Have you guessed what it is? Do you know what it is? I'm telling you right now what it is. Ready? It's being exposed. Being exposed is the absolute worst thing for a narcissist. Being exposed, and that's where your leverage lies. Being exposed, especially being exposed to people that they think highly of, people that they admire, people that they respect, their best form of supply. That is the absolute holy grail for them. That is the absolute worst possible thing that could happen to them. And so if you potentially expose them, that will drive them absolutely crazy. And so threatening to expose them is where your leverage lies, and that's where your strategy lies. And that's all wrapped up in my SLAY methodology, which stands for strategy, leverage, anticipating, and focusing on you, which is SLAY the narcissist. Let's talk about shame. Obviously, you can't talk about shame without talking about Brene Brown. She is the queen of shame. I always think it's funny when you talk about her. She tells a really funny story about how when she was on an airplane one time and she didn't really want to have a conversation with the person next to her, and the person said, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" And she said, "Oh, I talk about shame." And the person was like, "Oh, never mind. I think I'll just take a nap." But basically, she distinguished shame versus guilt. And she said that shame is I am bad versus guilt, which is I feel bad. So shame is just deep down inside. I feel that I am at my core inherently bad. There's something seriously wrong with me. And that really is the essence of what is going on with a narcissist. Unfortunately, that something happened with them when they were children. They weren't born narcissists. Nobody is born a narcissist, by the way. I mean, when we're born as babies, we think the world is a pretty good place. We're happy and fine and all is good. And all of us are born thinking we're good. There's nothing wrong. And that's how it should be. That we were actually born pretty good. Lots of different possibilities. And we were meant to be here. And I tell people that all the time. You were meant to be here. The chances of you being you were like 1 in 10 million trillion or something like that, which is kind of incredible. So it's really sad what happened to narcissists and to a lot of us. The world beats us up. Something traumatic happened in their childhood that made them think that something
was really seriously wrong with them. And they really just decided that the world is a scary place and that they're in a world of survival at the most pathological level. And I always have to say, you know, at my like PSA, my message to you empaths out there, no, you can't fix them, and no, you can't love them back to health, and no, you can't stay with them and fill that dark black hole of void. From everything that I've read and all of the psychologists and psychiatrists that I've spoken to, they can't be fixed for the most part. I mean, the level of self-awareness that they would have to have and the amount of therapy that they have to go through to be fixed is a lot. And most of them don't bother. And if they do, you know, sit in therapy, most of them don't respond well to it. So I'm just telling you right now that your chances of sitting around and waiting for it are probably not very good. So I'm just saying right now, like, don't think that that's going to be the best solution for you. So that's just like my little aside there. So going back to the issue in hand, which is what is the covert narcissist most ashamed of. All right, so that's the focus on the behavior, which is shame is I am bad, okay? So they're ashamed of who they really are. And remember, their image is their obsession. And that's, you know, what I teach is like how you create leverage and the strategy around how to create that leverage. My SLAY strategy, leverage, anticipate, and focus on you, is around that, because their image is their obsession, because they feel completely worthless deep down inside. And everything that they do is this cycle around trying to focus on how to have everybody not see the fact that they feel completely worthless deep down inside. They don't even want to have anybody see that half the time. They don't even want to like see that half the time. They lead these double lives. They don't want anyone to know how much they have this self-hatred thing going on. They feel like nothing inside. And so they do everything they can to layer on all this external stuff outside all the time. And that's why exposure is their greatest fear. And like I said, that's why, you know, the greatest leverage against them is exposure. And I talk about that all the time. That's that diamond level supply is how they look. So, and if you want to know more about the covert passive aggressive narcissist, I do have a whole video on that subject, which you can definitely check out. But, you know, in my SLAY methodology, creating that strategy, leverage, anticipating, focusing on you, the greatest leverage is potentially exposing them. And that the reason why is because their deepest sense of shame is they're deeply afraid of being exposed. But hey, if you are so ready to slay, I definitely want you to write slay in the comments right now. And you should be ready to slay, because it is time for you to take your life back. Okay, so I want you to write slay in the comments. But the sad thing is that they really are actually their own worst enemies, because they're never going to get help. And they end up making all kinds of mistakes in negotiations because of this craziness that they engage in. You know, this constant cycle of projection and deflection and constant lies. I mean, it's got to be exhausting for them. I mean, you can have compassion for it, but you can't help them. But they engage in this constant, you know, projection, deflection, and lying and denying and all of this stuff. But they're doing this all the time so the people don't see who they really are, because their deepest sense of shame, the thing that they're the most ashamed of, is that they have this deep sense of self-hatred. The deep sense of shame is, I am bad, that I hate myself. That is, and I say that all the time, that the narcissist is way more afraid of you than you are of them. And when you start to push back against them, they will start to eventually back down. They're always the worst right before they're ready to give up. That is what happens. I mean, it's like a 2-year-old having a tantrum on the floor. They always like scream the loudest right before they're ready to give up. But they do always end up giving up. So don't you give in. I mean, they only win if you give up.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Investing in your mental health can feel like a big decision, but your peace of mind is just as essential as your physical well-being. Life brings challenges, from the anxiety of stress to navigating high conflict relationships, and you really shouldn't have to face them alone. Traditional in-person therapy can cost anywhere from $100 to $250 per session, but with BetterHelp, you could save up to 50% per session on average. For a flat weekly fee, you get consistent quality care right from wherever you are. With over 30,000 licensed therapists and over 5 million people that have been helped worldwide, BetterHelp makes it easy to find support that fits your life, and you can switch therapists anytime. Therapy isn't just for moments of crisis, it's for building boundaries, learning tools, and becoming the most empowered version of yourself. Your well-being is so worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/negotiate to get 10% off your first month. Visit betterhelp.com/negotiate. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/negotiate.
Right now, I'm about to give you 4 things you should never say to a narcissist. So make sure you watch till the end, because the best one is at the end. And I've seen it all. I've seen punched walls, all sorts of things. Let's go. Let's do it. The first one is, of course, you should never, ever, ever say you're a narcissist to a narcissist. I know you're so tempted. You are so tempted to do this because, you know, you're learning about it, you're studying it, you've been reading about it, you're dealing with it now. You're going, oh my God, this is what this person is. You finally have figured it out. I mean, you've been dealing with this, you've been at the effect of this person maybe for years. And, you know, whether it's a business situation or a personal situation, a family situation, even if the person is your neighbor, you know, once you start to figure it out and the light starts to shed on you, it is so amazing, because you start to go, oh my gosh, this is not me. This is not me. This is that person. And believe me, I've been there. I've been there not just as an attorney. I've been there as an attorney, and I've represented people against narcissists, and I've represented narcissists, not knowingly, you know, at the beginning, but, you know, they end up showing themselves to me. It's not like I flashed a neon sign, hey, I represent narcissists, come on in here. No, it didn't happen like that. But, you know, they happen to end up coming through. But, you know, I've been around the block enough times to know what a narcissist looks like. And I can tell you that when cloud starts to clear and you start to realize, oh my gosh, this is what I've been dealing with, you know, and then I've dealt with them in my personal life too, you know, where I've actually been targeted, and, you know, where I couldn't sleep at night and my thoughts have been racing, and I literally was panicking and powerless and feeling paranoid. When you start to realize what it is that you've been dealing with, you just want to go, oh my God, that's what you are. It's not me. It's you. And you actually feel so relieved in a lot of ways. I mean, I remember the first book that I read on covert narcissism. I was on an airplane and I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I was literally gasping out loud. It was almost embarrassing, but I was just so relieved that it wasn't me. And so you so desperately just want to say to the other person, you are a narcissist. That's what you are. It's you. But let me tell you, do not, as badly as you want to say that to the other person, do not, please stop yourself. Stop yourself. Do not say it, because the minute you do that, that other person is going to be like, it's you, you're the one, you're the narcissist, you're the manipulator, you are the bad person. They 100% are going to see it as you. They are never going to go, you know what? Now that you mention it, I think you're right. I think I might be. they're never, ever going to see themselves as that. Ever. Not once will they ever even remotely think of themselves as that person. So it's not getting you anywhere other than worse off. So don't bother. You should never, ever, ever call a narcissist a narcissist. That's number one. And especially if you're trying to negotiate with this person, if you actually want to get somewhere out of this person, you should actually be adulating them more, ethically manipulate the manipulator until you actually want to get somewhere, because you're going to spring leverage on them when you want to. You got to be strategic about this thing. You remember my SLAY methodology: strategy, leverage, anticipate, focus on you. There's a strategy around this thing. Okay. You're going to slay. You're going to slay. Put slay in the comments right now. Slay. You are going to slay this. All right. Number 2, don't say you make me feel. You make me feel. You know why? Because you're giving them the power to make you feel a certain way. You know what? I've been saying this to my kids for years. Don't ever tell somebody you make me feel. Don't ever give anybody the power to make you feel some way. Eleanor Roosevelt had a saying about that. Nobody can make you feel any way without your permission. She had a saying that was something to that effect. I think I'm loosely quoting her, but it was to that effect. Don't ever say you make me feel. When you say you make me feel, you are in victim mode. Be in creation mode. And I remember that was one of the biggest mind shifts for me when I was deciding to come out of a business partnership with a narcissist. I realized that every time I was thinking about the narcissist, I was not in creation mode. I was in victim mode. And I was not allowing myself the space to be the best version of myself. And so every time I thought about that narcissist, I was like, I'm not thinking about this person anymore. I am going to go finish my book. I'm going to go do this thing. I'm going to go do that thing. I am not thinking about this person anymore. That is not being the best version of myself. Don't say you make me feel. Number 3, don't say this to the narcissist. Don't say I need or anything to them where they perceive that you're asking anything from them, where they feel like you're being needy. Narcissists have to feel like everything is optional for them. They don't want you to need them. They don't want you to feel like you are needing them. That's why they hate it when you're sick. That's why they hate having to give gifts to you. That's why they hate anything around you taking anything from them, because they want you, the flow has to be toward them, not toward you. So if you say, I need, then immediately they are on edge. They don't want to have to do anything for you where they perceive need. So if you start sentences where they feel like you're needing them like that, then they are on alert. That's number 3. And the last one, the most important one here. This is the most important one. This is especially so true when you are negotiating with a narcissist. Don't push. Don't push. Don't push. Don't push. Don't say you're about to go down or any kind of threat like that. Don't threaten them directly, because if you threaten them directly, you are already going to be public enemy number 1, because they already see anybody who is not for them is directly against them. They see people in black and white. And if you are against them, then you are public enemy number 1, and they've got to take you down before you can take them down. And they've got to come after you with all guns, and they've got to make sure that, scorched earth happens, and it's got to be messy and it's got to be bad. They just don't have the emotional regulation to make it any other way. They're not capable of emotionally regulating themselves. So if you say you're about to go down or you threaten them in any kind of way like that, their narcissistic injury is going to get triggered, and that narcissistic rage is going to come flying out, and it's just not going to be pretty, even if you don't mean it. Okay, so don't threaten them like that. You've got to be smarter than that. That's just going to be the worst thing that you could possibly do. You've got to be smarter than that. So when you go to negotiate with a narcissist, when you go to deal with a narcissist, it's important to know what to avoid if you want to avoid them, or what to push on and trigger if you want to trigger those things. But there are some things that a narcissist just don't get over. And when I teach people how to create leverage, which is what I teach people how to do, when I teach people how to create a strategy, you do want to figure out what those pressure points are. And I'm going to go over 4 of them right here, right now. The first one is that loss of control. All right. If you really want to know what one of the major pressure points are with a narcissist, I don't think it's any surprise that control is one of the things that they are so concerned about. That's why they're constantly looking for ways to keep you in control. I mean, that's the whole point of getting you into their web in the first place. That's the whole point of the love bombing and the manipulation and all the fear-based tactics that they go through. If you're new to this channel, I'm Rebecca Zung, and I am the author of Slay the Bully, How to Negotiate with a Narcissist and Win, which is a best-selling book, and also an attorney. I am a USA Today best-selling author. I'm also a top 1% attorney. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that now. Subscribe, hit that notification bell. One of the things that they do right from the beginning is try to get you into their web of control. So the first thing that they never get over, of course, is that loss of control. And so when they feel you slipping out of their hands, whether it's in a personal relationship or a professional relationship, it's like, oh my God, what is going on here? Whether that means that you are walking out the door, you are quitting your job, they think that you have found somebody else, that you are no longer interested in them, you're not going to be swayed by their future faking anymore. If you want to know what future faking is, it means that I know that I didn't do what I was supposed to do, you're on to me, but wait till you see how things are going to go in the future. It's all going to be wine and roses again. It's going to be butterflies and rainbows. And you'll see that I'm going to do all the things that I was supposed to do in the future. Don't look in the past anymore. Let's just sweep all of that under the rug. I know that I was a piece of crap in the past. I know I didn't do any of those things. They don't say that, but let's not look at that anymore. Why should we dwell on that? Let's look at the future. It's all going to be great. I will now do the marriage counseling. You'll get the raise. You'll have the pie in the sky, whatever it is, because it's going to be fantastic. And they'll say whatever the hell they want because they don't plan on doing any of it anyway. Maybe they do in their brain at that moment, but whatever. They'll say whatever they want because it's not going to happen anyway. So that's the first thing. The first thing is loss of control. That's the one thing that they just don't get over. The second thing is exposure of vulnerability. Okay. They are extremely concerned about this. And honestly, I probably should have saved this till the end, because when I teach people how to create leverage in my Slay program, which is strategy, leverage, anticipate, and focusing on you. This is the one thing that I tell people all the time, because you've got your diamond level supply, which is how they look to the world, which is the most important thing to them. And then you've got what I call a coal level supply, which is manipulating you and trying to make you squirm and make your life miserable. And in order to build leverage, you have to find a form of supply that is more important for them to keep than the supply that they get from jerking you around. I mean, they thrive on manipulating you. They thrive on jerking you around. What you have to do is think, okay, how can I potentially threaten that source of supply that's more important for them to keep, and threaten that source of supply, and unmasking this potential vulnerability, or threatening to unmask this potential vulnerability, that's going to be your best source of leverage. That is going to lead to unexpected reactions, and that's going to, make them sweat. That's going to make them nervous. And I always say that, the biggest myth in dealing with narcissists is that they just want to win. They don't just want to win. Yes, they want to win, but it's not the only thing that they want. It's, if you think that the only thing that they want is to win, then you are going to never be done with them, because they will never leave you alone. They need to also continue to jerk you around and manipulate you. That's why they continue to move goalposts, even on their own deal, because they need to make you sweat, see you squirm, that they get off on that. If this is resonating with you, let me know in the comments. I would love to know if this is resonating with you. Drop me a comment, share your thoughts and experiences below, and let me know. And if you are dealing with a narcissist in a negotiation setting, get my free Crush My Negotiation worksheet to get started. And you can get that at winmynegotiation.com. It will help you. It's your toolkit. It's your freedom. It's your path to freedom. It's an ebook, basically, but it will help you get started and get going so that you can have that GPS to get where you want to go. The next thing that narcissists will hate and never get over is a challenge to their superiority, especially if you do this in public, by the way, especially if you do this in public and in front of other people, and especially in front of other people that they don't want to be exposed to. Like, you start combining these together, oh my gosh. So a challenge to their superiority, their ego blow, oh my gosh. The third thing is they think that they are God's gift, and you say, I don't think so. I don't think that you are correct on that. I think that you may be mistaken on that particular point. Even if you are presenting them with evidence of their error, they will not be happy about that. So, I mean, and I've actually been in court and shown a narcissistic attorney, like, this is what you actually said on the record, and here is proof with the transcript. And they'll be like, yeah, I might have said that, but that's not what that's incorrect. I mean, like, they will challenge their own selves if they want to be right on something, because they have to be superior in that moment. It's so crazy how they can be triggered in these particular situations. Asserting yourself, asserting your own strength can trigger some major responses out of a narcissist, especially in a situation like that in front of a judge. They are not happy about situations like that. They do not like that at all. That is number 3, is a challenge to their superiority. Now, when you are making choices to do these sorts of things, you will definitely need support. You will definitely need help. If you don't have a support system, get one. Make sure you have one. If you don't have one, my community is amazing. Even if you have one, my community is amazing. Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung is my free private Facebook group. Come join us. Come join our community. Make sure that you do. If you need additional support and help, then I have a sponsor on this channel, which is BetterHelp. And you can go to betterhelp.com/Rebecca Zung to get access to that help. And it's just sources that we have vetted so that you have a place that you can go that you can trust. The next thing is, and the last thing for here, is ignoring them. They don't want to be ignored. They don't want to be told goodbye, basically, which is what the best thing is that you could do. Go gray rock. go say goodbye, move on with your life. I know sometimes it's not always the easiest thing to do, but it is the best thing for you to do. Sometimes it's not something that you can do right away. Sometimes you have to get to that point, which is where I come in and I can help you get there. It's almost like you're cutting off that blood supply to them, because they will just go and find that supply source from somewhere else other than you if you cut off that supply source from you to them, because they have to have that supply source from somewhere. And if it's not going to be from you, it's going to have to be from someone else. Let it be from someone else, because they're literally sucking you dry. They're literally sucking it from your soul. It's going to make you sick. It's going to make you physically ill. It's going to have brain fog. It causes brain fog on you. By you saying, I can wait, maybe it'll get better, all of those things, it doesn't. And waiting doesn't make it better on them, and it doesn't make it better for you. It never does. You know, the best thing that you can do at this point is plan, protect, get yourself ready, get yourself to a better place, and get yourself stronger. Here's what's going on as I understand it. The narcissist has no sense of self. In a way, they're almost like hiding this little tiny, like scared self inside. They're almost like two people. There's like this inner person that is scared, that they're hiding. And then there's this outer self that is like the one that they show the world. And in some ways, it's almost like this huge dichotomy, and it's very confusing. It's very torturous. It's torturous to the people around them. It's actually very torturous for themselves as well. And the narcissists that I've been close to, sometimes in moments of where they're kind of being honest, they'll even say that, like, there's this inner person, there's this outer person. It's kind of confusing for themselves as well. Like, especially the covert narcissists, the coverts will actually even be honest about their own depression. They'll tell you that they're depressed. Sometimes they'll even tell you that they feel terrible about themselves. But it's kind of crazy, because they treat you horribly, like, the whole time you're in this relationship. I mean, I was in a business sort of relationship with one, not even a romantic relationship, but I mean, the whole time, I mean, they're terrible to you. I mean, it's awful. And you think to yourself, why would anybody want to continue to be in a relationship with this person who's treating you terrible the whole time, calling you names sometimes? I mean, I didn't have that, but you know, sometimes these relationships, they're really, really horrible to you. And sometimes I think, like, there's this disconnect where they don't even like remember how they've treated you sometimes. And then you leave. And I was actually just talking to one of my former clients to interview her for a podcast. And, you know, she finally left her husband, and he's like calling her up saying things like, no one will ever love you like I do. Your family doesn't love you like I do. And they're like so desperate to get you back, so desperate to have that. I mean, they're desperate for your supply. They're desperate for that attention from you. They're desperate for whatever adulation they got from you. They're desperate for whatever it is that you were doing for them. They're desperate for how good you made them look. They're desperate for you to be around them. They hate being alone a lot of the time, but in a lot of ways, they also hate your vulnerability. They like, if you are vulnerable around them, like the fact that you love them, you also become the perfect person to blame when things go wrong for them. You've allowed certain behaviors a lot of times. You've like been imprinted to kind of, you've gone along to get along. So you've kind of allowed a lot probably to go by because you just didn't want to rock the boat, probably a lot of times. You feel like, you know, sometimes it's never going to end. If you want to know more about when does the narcissist game finally end, you can definitely check out my video called When Does the Narcissist Game Finally End? You know, you thought you could love them enough. You thought you could give them enough. You thought that, you know, they'd see your worth if you gave them enough. You thought that, you would pour yourself into them. You thought that, eventually they'd acknowledge you. Eventually, they would appreciate all that you did for them, right? This is sounding all too familiar. Give me a yes in the comments right now. I've been there. Not in a romantic sense, but I've been there in a business sense. They love that you were there as their punching bag. They really thought that you would never leave. They really thought that you would always stay. And so when you actually do leave, or when you actually do fight back, or when you actually do stand up to them, sometimes it's really shocking for them. So when you do start to slay, by the way, my slay program, strategy, leverage, anticipating, and focusing on you. For those of you who haven't checked out my slay program, then you'll know that's when they'll start to be like, whoa, and they'll start to love bomb, or they'll start to fight back, or they'll start to, because it's really going to bring them off kilter, at least at first, because they'll be like, whoa, what's going on here? Because they won't believe it. They may say they've changed it, all of these things. Don't believe any of that. Don't believe the future faking, please. They haven't changed. I mean, I had a client recently who was like, oh, maybe I could just still date him. Maybe I could keep him in the love bomb phase. No, you can't. Don't do that. You can't do that. They kind of hate you because they hate themselves. And they hate you for loving them. How could you love someone who is so horrible? They hate themselves. There's a part of themselves that really has this self-hatred, because they have no sense of self. So that's what's really going on as far as I know. And that's why it's almost impossible to negotiate with them unless you employ the strategies that I teach. And if you want to know more about those strategies, definitely grab my free Crush My Negotiation prep worksheet at winmynegotiation.com. Get the support you need in my free Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. And if you like this video, give it a like. Make sure you share it so that other people can understand why they hate you and also love you at the same time. It's all so confusing and it's really crazy. And they constantly move goalposts during the negotiation. It's really super sick unless you develop that super strong strategy, okay?
If you're a renter, you have to hear this. We rack up points on groceries, travel, practically everything else. But rent, until recently, that was just money out the door, but not anymore. With Built, paying rent finally pays off. There's no cost to join, and just by paying rent, you unlock flexible points that can be transferred to your favorite hotels, airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and more. When you pay rent through Built, you unlock two powerful benefits. First, you earn industry's most valuable points on rent every month, no matter where you live or who your landlord is. Your rent now works for you. Second, you gain access to your exclusive neighborhood benefits in your city. Built's neighborhood benefits are things like extra points on dining out, complimentary post-workout shakes, free mats or towels at your favorite fitness studios, and unique workout experiences that only Built members can access. And when you're ready to travel, Built points can be converted to your favorite miles and hotel points around the world, meaning your rent can literally take you places. So if you're not earning points on rent, my question is, what are you waiting for? Start paying rent through Built and take advantage of your neighborhood benefits by going to joinbuilt.com/negotiate. That's joinbilt.com/negotiate. Make sure to use our URL so that they know we sent you. Joinbuilt.com/negotiate to sign up for Built today.
Why does it seem like narcissists love you 1 minute and then hate you the next? Okay, I'm going to tell you one thing. They don't ever really love you, period. I mean, they just feed off of you. They feed off of your energy. They feed off of your supply because that's what they're going for right from the beginning. So let me explain something to you about how narcissists are. Okay, so a narcissist is a person who has absolutely no sense of self. Picture a person who's literally almost like they're starving. They have no oxygen. It's like they can't breathe, or they have like a black hole inside of them. And so they're constantly trying to breathe or get food. So they can't really see you because they're constantly trying to survive. And they want you to fill this black hole, and you might want to fill it too. And so you're trying to fill this black hole, but they can't really receive. And so you're left feeling depleted. They're still starving. This is like this vicious cycle that's happening all the time. And they cannot be healed. And this is what's happening constantly. And so they can't see you or feel anything about you because they're just in this scarcity mode all the time. And they feed off of this narcissistic supply. It's this external source of supply. I mean, it's not like they don't actually have value, but they don't feel like they have any value. So they're trying to get this external source of supply from you. So they're attaching themselves to you to try to get this source of supply from you. And how do they feed off of that? They feed off of this drama. They want to try to trigger you through this manipulation, and they feed off of your empathy. They can't actually love you, but they want you to love them, and they want you to pay attention to them. They attach themselves to you. They want you to give them this adulation, and they feed off of drama. Okay, so they're take, and they're incapable of seeing this adverse effect on your emotions. By the way, I mean, everything is a manipulation. And so they get you to pay attention to them and care about them, and then they ghost you, and then you're upset about it. But then, they get you to beg. They feed off of this high emotion and this constant up and down and this constant drama. They enjoy this drama of this up and down and up and down. If it was just even all the time, there would be no supply to be had. The supply comes from the up and the down. There would be nothing to be had if it was just, how was your day, blah, blah, blah. And they don't believe in a two-way street. I mean, they can't give to you. So how they're getting the supply is by, they pay attention enough to you to get you to give back this adulation. They'll give enough to you so that you can start paying attention to them, so that you're begging them to stay, showing them how much you love them. Please don't leave me. All of that sort of thing, because they want you to be in this constant place of control where you're proving to them that they still have control over you. So by back and forth, by building you up and then pushing you away, and then you begging them, they show that they still have control over you. And that's why they do this back and forth. Well-adjusted, healthy people don't feed off of this constant drama to demonstrate that they still have control over you. And by the way, by doing this back and forth thing, that's how you become addicted to them. That's how they mess with your emotions. The dopamine levels in your brain become addicted to needing that hit from them. By the way, there's a study by Robert Sapolsky that shows that you need that hit from them too, just that anticipation of, are you going to get the back and forth from them as well? Are you going to get the adulation back from them? And so, you become trauma bonded to them. It's a very, very unhealthy dynamic. And by the way, I have a whole video on this is what emotional abuse looks like. And I would definitely check out my video on this is what emotional abuse looks like, because it is very, very much emotional abuse what they are inflicting on you. You definitely want to check that out. You definitely want to also check out my video on self-care when you are in narcissistic relationships, because you need to take care of yourself. And I will also make sure that there are links to other resources such as the domestic violence hotline. And we also have a partnership with BetterHelp Online Therapy, which, for those of you who need access to more support, more therapy, please make sure that you get the help that you need for therapy as well. I mean, please don't sit out there and not get the help that you need for that as well, because, narcissists are master manipulators. They don't actually really love you. Everything is a manipulation. And if you agree with me, put agree in the comments below, because you know that this is the case. And this is why it's best to not just walk away from these relationships, but to actually run away from these relationships. I mean, they don't have the ability to feel anything about you. They don't have the ability. It's like if somebody has a toothache, all they can think about is their toothache. They can't feel anything about what's going on outside of their own toothache, because they can only feel their own pain. And that's what's going on with them. It cannot be healed. They can only take care of themselves. So you need to take care of yourself as well.
So let's talk about the words that narcissists hate. They're usually the ones that are trying to get you. And if you want to know about the narcissist's favorite sayings, check out my video on the narcissist's favorite sayings. They have their own little collection of things that they love to say to drive you insane, to make you feel small, to devalue you, to make you feel like you shouldn't even be a speck of dust. I mean, I've had so many people say to me, I think he or she wants me to actually kill myself. But that is not true, because then there would go their source of supply. So basically, they love getting the supply, that narcissistic supply, that thing that feeds their ego. They want to get it from as many sources as they possibly can. And if you want to know more about narcissistic supply, check out my video on narcissistic supply, where I actually define the whole thing. But basically, what they're trying to do is make them feel more powerful over you by controlling you and driving you crazy. So, they bring you in with love bombing, and they get you going, and they make you think they're so wonderful and so perfect, because they're really, really charismatic, and they're terrific at making that you think that they are perfect in some way, whether it's in a business setting or a relationship setting. They come on with this charismatic, I'm so perfect for you way of being, and maybe even offer to do all kinds of things for you. And they might even do one or two things for you in the beginning. A lot of it is offering and future faking and all that sort of thing. And if you want to know more about future faking, check out my video on future faking as well. What can you do to actually get their goat, like actually annoy the crap out of them? So here are some words that narcissists absolutely hate. Number one is any kind of praise or any kind of adulation or respect or anything about anyone else. They really cannot take that. Even if you just say, wow, I really admire that person, they're really good at this. Or even if you just compliment them in some way, they're really great in business. Or I like their house. somehow any kind of compliment about someone else becomes something about them. It becomes something that irritates them, that bothers them in some way, that maybe you like them better, or you think more highly of them than you think of them. And so therefore it becomes a threat to them in some way. So any kind of nice words about somebody other than them is a problem. Number 2 is, that's not true. If you just literally say, I think you're lying, then they hate that. Especially if you have proof that they're lying, or that that they're not telling the truth. I mean, you could literally show them the proof right in front of their face, and they will go right to projection or denial or all those other kinds of things. And definitely check out my video on what happens when you catch a narcissist in a lie. There's several different things that they normally do, but they really, really hate it if you just simply say, and you just say it factually. You don't have to say it with emotion or anger or anything like that. You can just say it as if you're like reporting the news, like that's just not true. So that's number 2. Number 3 is, I will not. In other words, I will not go with you. I will not do that thing that you want. I will not go along with your plan to defraud somebody or whatever it is. I had a narcissistic client one time who used to say to me, Rebecca, you're really going to be lonely in heaven by yourself. And you like to try to goad me into doing something that I didn't want to do. No, I just said, no, I will not do that. So that's number 3 is I will not. All right, number 4 is similar, which is I cannot. Like literally, I can't do that. I can't do that right now. I can't do that ever. I'm not physically able. I'm not emotionally able. I'm not spiritually able. I'm not able. I just cannot help you in whatever way it is that you want me to do. And they don't like that. I cannot, I will not happening. They don't want to hear that. And the next one is, you lost. I mean, even if it's just playing a game or something and they happen to lose, you lost. They don't want to hear you lost. Even if they did lose, they don't want to hear about that. So, you can't actually say, because they're going to have all kinds of reasons why, maybe it looks like they lost, but they didn't actually lose. Namely, probably because you cheated or something happened that caused them to, make it look like they lost, even though they definitely did win. And if you are so ready to be the winner, give me an I win in the comments. Okay, the next one is, you're wrong. So, again, even if they are wrong and you give them proof of it, I mean, you could be showing them something on your phone or showing them a piece of paper or something that actually proves to them that they are wrong. They're never going to admit that they were wrong. And so for those of you who are dealing with a narcissist, don't waste your breath trying to prove them wrong, because they're never going to admit to it. The words that sound something like, oh my gosh, you are totally right. I'm 100% wrong. I am so sorry. You totally didn't deserve that behavior. I am terrible. You think that you're ever going to hear those words? No. I mean, you're better off waiting for goldfish to fly, or, the moon to be made out of green cheese, or whatever it is. I mean, anything is more possible than that. I mean, they're really not going to do that. So, you just have to believe that, karma will win out. You use the tactics that I teach you on how to win in other ways, creating your strategy and your leverage and all of the things that I teach you. And you will have to prove them wrong in a different way, because, just by simply saying you're wrong, they hate that, and that you're not going to get anywhere with it. The next one is, I don't care. I mean, what is worse to a narcissist? You think that being mean to a narcissist is the worst thing, or fighting back against them is the worst thing? Actually, no. The worst thing to a narcissist is that you are completely apathetic, that you just seriously don't care at all. I mean, when you can get to a point where someday maybe you don't even remember that narcissist's name, or what they look like, or what they did to you, or anything like that, that's actually the best revenge on a narcissist, because they hate that. They don't want to be irrelevant. They'd rather be in your face and having you complain about them and think that they're a horrible person than be completely irrelevant. So they absolutely hate the words, "I don't care." Okay, so the next one is, "I'm busy," which actually is very closely related to the 9th one, which is "not now." So I'm busy or not now, meaning I can't be with you right now. I can't do what you want right now. I will not do what you want right now, or maybe ever. And they really don't want to hear that. I mean, so with "I'm busy or not now," they expect you to move mountains and drop everything for them right now. Or they'll just walk right into your office or walk right into your house and expect and demand to have attention drawn upon them immediately. Or maybe they walk into a restaurant and they expect the best table right away. And if people don't immediately all, flock to giving them what it is that they want, then they actually are, personally affronted. And with narcissists, you're either for them or against them. And so if they don't perceive you to be 100% for them and giving you every minute of attention, every second of the day, immediately when they want it, then obviously you're against them, right? So that brings me to the last one, which is the word that they hate the most, which is "no," in any way, shape, or form. Narcissists have no boundaries. They don't think that they should have any boundaries. They feel entitled. And so, if you say the word "no" in any way, shape, or form, it is a personal affront to them. They are personally triggered. That narcissistic injury gets triggered, and there comes out flying the narcissistic rage, and hell hath no fury like a narcissist scorned. So anyway, those are the 10 phrases that narcissists hate the most. And when you are going to negotiate with them, you should keep those in the back of your mind and either use them strategically or don't use them at all, depending on what it is that you want to accomplish.